Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the last movie in our Vincent Price week. And tonight we're looking at another Edgar Allan Poe Gothic tale. We're looking at one called Tales of Terror. Now this one it's completely different to the last one we looked at, although very the same. It's again based in this ancient sort of mansion, sort of castle, a bit like the last one, the Haunted Mansion, or the Haunted Palace. Sorry, it's the same sort of like environment, um, and we start with a classic sort of foggy house establishing shot of this castle, and it looks very painted and stuff, but it looks very awesome. And we see a young girl arriving at this house, and she is the daughter of Vincent Price's character. She lives, I think, it looks like she lives in America or something. She's come to see him. Um, and so she comes into the house, and it looks very, very gothic. It's once again covered in cobwebs. Once again, it's very looks it just sort of like not used, but intact, if you like what I mean. And she's sort of like exploring the house and sort of finds like everywhere is covered in cobwebs. She even comes across a couple of tarantulas and things like this. And she can't see anyone, but she keeps hearing noises coming from upstairs. But she goes and looks around the sort of kitchen area and everything with nothing to avail. She keeps hearing this noise and shouting out for her father, who is Vincent Price. But she can't see him. But eventually she goes upstairs and sort of like enters one of the sort of bedrooms, obviously her father's room, but there's no one there. And she's looking around again at the room, and she sees a painting on her wall, which is her mother, uh, who is dead. Now, we can see in the sort of like, there's like a kind of wooden, uh, what do they call those sort of things? Like a clothes changing sort of uh, area board, and we can see that someone behind it. And then we hear the voice of Vincent Price, and then he makes an appearance. Sorry, guys, got a little bit of a fluff floating around. And he makes an appearance, and he's sort of very offish with her, asking her what's she doing there, who is she, sort of thing. And she goes, "I'm your daughter. Don't you recognise me?" "Yeah, I do, but what are you doing here?" And he's not very pleased to see her. And he sort of goes off out of the room, and she follows him onto the stairwell, and they're having a big conversation and all this sort of thing. And she's saying, "You're not happy to see me?" He goes, "Well, why would I be happy to see you?" But anyway, she asks if she can stay the night. And he says, "Well, yeah, I mean, you've got nowhere to go. You've got to stay the night." Anyway, so he then goes back to his room and talks to his painting of his ex-wife, or his late wife, should I say, not ex. And he sort of says to the painting, "Your murderer has returned." So it kind of like thinks, well, is she how she murdered her mother? Because it's sort of, the story goes that she left, mother died when she was a little girl. Um, Anyway, the story unfolds a bit further down the line, and we discover that she's come to see her father because she's dying. She's not got long to live. So he then becomes quite saddened by this and wants to sort of reconcile with her. And he sort of tells her the story about her mother dying, at a young age. She wanted this big party. She had a big party at the house, and then an hour into the party, she'd taken ill and collapsed. Um, and then sort of like they called for the doctors and stuff, but by the time the doctors arrived, she'd already died. but she was saying, oh, it's your your daughter's did this, your daughter did this. And anyway, the daughter starts going around looking around for her father later on in the film, and she goes into his bedroom, and she finds on the bed the corpse of her mother laying on the bed. So she has that scream, and then they have that sort of big conversation going on about why he's kept her like that. He doesn't want her buried in the ground. Her beauty's too beautiful to be buried and under the ground. He wants to keep her there. So he's got some sort of very strange mind outgoing going on here. And the daughter decides to stay. He asked the daughter to stay, and she says she will stay. And they sort of reconcile and have a bit of a hug and that. And then we sort of cut back to the room to the corpse on the bed, and you hear sort of like a talking saying, "Oh, that she's here, so now it's time we can sort of get some sort of revenge," I think. And we also see like a ghostly figure walking the hallways at night time, and it's quite scary and haunted. And it's like, where's this figure coming from? I suppose it's the ghost of the wife. So she wants to revenge on the daughter, and I think they're thinking along the lines that if the daughter dies, then the mother's curse is lifted, because this house looks like it's got some sort of curse. Anyone that sort of live in this house sort of ends, it's got this curse of dying. And so what is going on? Is it a curse? Is Vincent Price going to become a victim to this curse? Is there some sort of revenge going on with the daughter? Or like that? You need to watch this and find out, because that's what I'm going to tell you. This film stars a really good cast. It actually stars Basil Rathbone, that comes into the film a bit later on into the film, and he was famous for playing a lot of Sherlock Holmes films. So he makes an appearance, and Peter Lorre also makes an appearance in the film. And it's a bit of a bizarre story, but it's a terrifying story, and it's really cool. So what do I think of Tales of Terror? I think it's excellent. It's an excellent movie. Really, really cool. It's a stellar horror story, and it's a gripping one that keeps you, because the story is released to you a bit at a time. It keeps you engaged to want to find out what's happening, or what's caused this, or is there a curse, or is this just all in Vincent Price's head? It's that sort of storyline. The pluses of this film: the transfer looks great. It looks amazing. Arrow once again have done a great job in this occasion. Stellar cast. Vincent Price, Peter Lorre, Basil Rathbone, absolutely fantastic cast. A very dramatic, very drama-based sort of horror film. And of course, of its time, it's a slow burn, because these horrors were. The story is the horror. Edgar Allan Poe is the story, is the horror. So it's not the gore, it's not the action sets, it's not the action, it's the story and the realization of what's been going on in this story, and the sort of terrifying, haunting sort of stories that Edgar Allan Poe writes. All is pretty much all about the atmosphere and the background of these sort of characters and the story. Most of his films are all like that, and this is no exception. These stories. The minus of the film, of course, for a lot of people, it can be a bit of a slow burn. You have to be in the mood for this sort of horror film. There's no sort of gore or anything like that. It's a storytelling horror film, and it's excellent. So I'm going to score the film an excellent watch and give it an 8 out of 10. Really, really cool. Absolutely loved the film. Really, really good. And it's such a good story. When you see these, you think, what a great storyteller Edgar Allan Poe is. You know, he wrote some amazing stories in The Raven and The Pit and the Pendulum and all these amazing stories. Now, I have got a film called The Raven, not Edgar Allan Poe story. I have that, but this one it stars John Cusack and he plays Edgar Allan Poe, and it's a story of his life. I must dig that out and do a review of that because it's like a sort of story of a serial killer doing killings on based on Edgar Allan Poe's books. That's a really cool film. I must try and dig that out. But yeah, these are fantastic tales, and they're not ones that have been remade and remade and remade because they don't need it. These tales are classic the way they are. The way you've got Vincent Price with his sort of stage presence and his very Shakespearean type of acting, you can't top it. It's genius, absolutely fantastic. Tales of Terror, 8 out of 10. Any of you guys seen it? If you have, let me know down below what you think of it. I thought it's a really cool film and really enjoyable. Although it's slow paced, it was a good pace and it was very gripping. And there's just so many, I don't know, that presence, that screen presence that Vincent Price has, it's just it outstands me. It outstands me now because, like I said, when I was younger, I wasn't into him because I was so into Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee, and I just thought, oh, this is an American dude trying to copy our English horror actors. Well, obviously he wasn't, but I was young and I was, impressionable, and so I didn't really appreciate Vincent Price at that time. But I do now, and I appreciate for the genius that he was. Absolutely excellent. So there we go. That's our Vincent Price week. I hope you've liked that. I will look at some more Vincent Price films throughout the weeks and weeks to come. You know, films like Witchfinder General and all this sort of thing. I will look at more, obviously, as they crop up in my reviews. But it was great to spend a week looking at 3 of his classics. So we've looked at my favourite, Theatre of Blood, which is fantastic. We've looked at tonight's film, Tales of Terror, and we looked at The Haunted Palace. All amazing films, absolutely fantastic, and they're all in this box set if you get a chance to pick it up from Arrow. You got 6 Gothic tales, and they're all Edgar Allan Poe tales starring Vincent Price. So it's definitely worth a pick up if you get the chance to. Really cool. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Until the next video, check out some horror channels for me. Check out Horror Hands, Horror Geek, Man v Film, Irish Designs, Bizzlewell, I Am the Ice Lord, Cat Watches Horror Movies, Grumpy Andrew's Haunted House. Until next time, and a massive shout out to Lad Lemonlord. Till next time, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I'll see you all soon.